Hello and welcome to Top Story. The political temperature is rising in the United States as key votes near in the primary elections to choose which candidates will lead the Democratic and Republican parties in this year's presidential election. On Thursday, the state of Iowa kicks off a series of contests that will culminate in the party conventions in August and September. It's been a roller coaster campaign with no runaway favorite in either camp. In Iowa's Democratic battle, Illinois Senator Barack Obama is locked in a dead heat with longtime frontrunner Hillary Clinton. And the Republican race is almost as tight in Iowa, with former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney snapping at the heels of ex-Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Nationally, Republicans John McCain and Rudy Giuliani remain strong contenders. Well, joining me now to shed light on the U.S. primaries and the race for the White House is Ambre Yvol from the North America Research Center at Paris University. Thank you very much for joining us on Top Story. This really is one of the most dramatic races in recent memory, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Especially if you think of the political crisis, which is extremely deep in the country ever since 2004 and Bush's re-election. And in terms of the crisis in Iraq and the economic crisis, as well as social issues such as immigrants' rights, which is a key issue in the country today. So indeed, the turnout of this next presidential campaign will be very important for the US, but especially for the world.
Has the campaign for the primaries really focused more on the personalities or the issues like Iraq and immigration?
Unfortunately, more on the personalities up to now, but I think it will change in the months ahead. It will have to change anyway, just because of the demands of the electorate in the country. But from now, especially during the primaries, candidates tend to adapt to the most radical basis of both main parties. And in that way, they do not put forth their program as a key issue, but deal with personalities and psychological issues.
At this stage, it's more about who's fit to lead America. So let's talk about the Democrats for a moment in Iowa. And of course, there's the classic tandem, the race of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. But John Edwards is a dark horse. He's surged in the opinion polls. Can he be the candidate from the left who really shows himself to be independent on Iraq and other issues?
We know it's interesting because he already ran in 2004 as a left-wing candidate. In this campaign, he seems to be even more relevant in terms of left-wing issues, especially in terms of addressing the issue of poverty, and he appears as an economic populist, as he's called by various analysts, and he has gathered support among unions, especially if you think of the carpenters union or steel workers, mine workers, and the service industry workers as well. Although this last union is still divided in terms of their supports among the three main candidates of the Democratic Party. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and John Edwards. But I would say that that's his key strong point.
And what are Hillary's and Barack Obama's strong points at this stage?
It's more difficult to tell in terms of what's happening at the grassroots level, but in terms of their image, their media image, Hillary Clinton is more of the classical candidates adapting in many ways to the political program of the previous administration, especially in terms of foreign policy. And so she presents herself as the wisest, more experienced candidate, whereas Barack Obama, obviously, because he's from African descent and his mother's from Kansas, appears as a more progressive candidate because of the cultural revolution that he appears to embody, but is not as convincing in terms of his progressive agenda as Edwards is at this point, and I think this can change.
Let's talk a bit about the Huckabee-Romney race. Who are these two characters? What do they represent?
Well, Romney is the ex-governor of Massachusetts. Huckabee is less known in the political field, although he could play a key role in Iowa because he plays to the more conservative evangelical base of the Republican Party. But in the long run, he might not make a difference, precisely because he lacks the financial funds that, say, other candidates such as Romney or Giuliani, of course, have. And so he might lose steam as the campaign evolves, but the issues that he will raise and the values, especially religious values, will remain at the core of the campaign, of course.
The question of the Mormon connection has been quite controversial, hasn't it, for Mitt Romney?
Right. I tend to see the religious issue and the way it's presented through this first caucuses in Iowa as superficial in a way, because religion can mean so many things in the United States, and it's important to both parties, and it can be both a conservative or a progressive issue in the U.S.
Now, John McCain and Rudy Giuliani have focused their campaign nationally rather than on Iowa and New Hampshire. Is that a wise strategy?
I tend to think it is, actually, because if you think of Giuliani, he has not really been involved in the campaign in Iowa, and so he's maybe will have around 15% of the vote intentions, but he will be more influential in California, say. So next February, that's the Super Tuesday event when most states will have will hold their primaries. I think it's wise in the sense that if you think of the number of delegates sent by both main parties, in Iowa it's a maximum of 40 delegates for the Democratic Party. It's less than that for the Republicans. In California, it's 10 times those candidates. So the number of delegates and their relative weight at the end point of this campaign will be more important in more populated states such as California than it is for Iowa. So Iowa and New Hampshire, those states are important at the beginning of the campaign and they can set off a tendency, but I think it can be reversed quite quickly.
Okay, so still an open playing field. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much. Ambry Vol from the Research Center for North American Studies at Paris University. We'll be following the US primaries closely for you, of course, here on France 24. Do stay with us.